Hey guys, and welcome to the Lower Chesapeake Bay Fishing Report, the first podcast to bring you the local offshore, nearshore, and inshore fishing report, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. We got a great fishing report lined up for you guys this week, but first let's hear who's making the show possible. It's time we talked about catching some serious savings. Imagine harnessing the power of the sun to cut your energy bills and having a roof that's built to last. Convert Solar and Roofing specializes in top-notch solar installations and durable roofing solutions that stand up to the toughest elements. Their solar panels are designed to maximize efficiency, and their roofs are built with premium materials to ensure long-lasting protection. Whether you're out on the water or at home, their expert team ensures you're covered. As fellow anglers in the Lower Chesapeake Bay, the team at Convert Solar and Roofing cares about both sustainable living and sustainable fishing. So reel in those savings today and visit www.convert-solar.com or call 757-44-SOLAR. Make your energy and roof as reliable as your favorite fishing lure. Call Convert Solar and Roofing today. Listen up, folks. AFTCO has a new promotion for all Great Days Outdoors Podcast Network listeners. They're now offering a camo sunglasses cleaner cloth with any purchase of AFTCO products. I especially enjoy their hooded sun protection shirts, as well as their Seiko fluorocarbon. All you got to do to get your coupon code is text LCBFR to 779-345-2918. Again, just text the letters LCBFR to 779-345-2918 to get subscribed to our email list, and we'll send you the promo code via email. All right, guys, welcome to the show. I'm excited to have chef extraordinaire and friend of the fishing community back on the show. Bill Pappas with Playing Hooky Charters. Bill, how we doing?
Great, man. How are you this morning?
I'm good, man. It's a little rainy. We're all kind of just sweating and waiting out this hurricane system moving through the area, but hopefully and prayerfully it moves through quickly and we can get back to fishing soon.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We always like to take a trip right before the storm comes, no matter how much of a window you have, and you make a great opportunity of it. We ended up going yesterday, with my kids. We went out there. We went out 65 miles in pretty much a half day. We didn't have much time to do it.
Yeah.
And ended up collecting a couple mahis for my son to take with him back to college. Pretty good.
That's
time.
awesome, man. We got to say it together. Tahi Makos.
Tahi Makos, there's been a lot of people that come up to the boat and have told me about the recipe and hearing it on your podcast. And actually, we've been sharing the podcast, is we don't have to explain the recipe. They can just go home and listen to it and cook it. And we've had some, I guess some people have tried them.
That's awesome.
I'm going to make them up for us here soon once we get them real good.
Heck yeah, man. I'm excited to get out there and go after some of those mahi. But for those that are tuning in for the first time, you've been on the show a few times. Just remind folks of your boat and what you guys specialize in.
Hey, my name is Captain Bill with Playing Hooky Charters. We run a top-notch organization that we take pride in by building it with hard work, and we run a boat out of Rudy Inlet over there at Rockefeller's Restaurant. We have a brand new, built from scratch from an idea and a dream for Virginia Beach charter fishing to be one of the best fishing boats in Virginia Beach. It's most comfortable, fast, and takes you to the fish. We like to fish offshore.
Mm-hmm.
We like to fish inshore. We like to take guests shark fishing, whatever they like to do, tuna, marlin when they're around. Mahi's one of our specialties that we specialize in. And we also like to do cobia drum when they've been abundant this year. And we Spanish mac fish and troll along the beach for short trips and family adventures.
That's awesome. You do a little bit of everything. It's a beautiful 29-foot Seahawk with a tower. That thing is beautiful to watch work out there, man. You got those twin 300s or 350s on the back.
300s.
Twin 300s. Beautiful, man. So obviously the weather hasn't been ideal. You mentioned you guys got offshore a little bit. In the past couple of days, what have you been seeing? What have you been catching?
The weather's got to stop in this time of year. These storms keep busting through, so you only get a small window. And we went out there and saw a lot of whales and birds and trolled the gear through it and didn't have much success until we rolled up on some mahi. We ended up passing. It was funny. My mate and I were looking down in the water, and we saw it was like a black mesh bag, and it was close enough to the boat where I was like, man, a few more feet over, we might have sucked it up in the props and been in trouble. We looked at each other like, oh, man. And we kept going. We didn't see anything on it. Well, I guess it must have been covered or had something behind it, because before long we looked up and pow, 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 all the clips and everything started popping. We got covered up. Everything got bit by mahi. Everybody on the boat was fighting mahi before long. Was it 6 of us?
That's incredible.
Yeah, it was sweet. Yeah. Off a mesh bag floating, man. It was about 1.5 feet, 2 feet under the water, and it's about the size of about 4 beach balls. It was pretty big, but yeah, that's the way it goes, man. And, you can't look for those things and find them. But I actually happened to be going towards a big purple balloon that we couldn't tell what it was. So one object brought us to the next object that made everything happen by some persistence and good vision from miles away. And that's how it happens sometimes. If you're working hard enough, we always say, if you're working hard, you just keep working and something's going to happen.
That's cool to think about, just the chance of running across that. But what had you in that general area? You said you're about 65 miles offshore. Was it water temperature? What was it?
We went to the Norfolk Canyon.
Okay.
We were looking. Yeah, we went to the Norfolk Canyon looking for the tuna bite before it made it all the way to the north.
Mhm.
And we also, we're hoping for maybe a marlin bite, or we had a short white marlin bite the trip before that too. So we were maybe looking to see if we can get a white billfish in the boat or near the boat. You don't pull those in the boat, and
Yeah. Unless you're in the White Marlin Open.
unless you are in the white marlin open.
Yeah, those are some
Yeah.
I'm looking at some pictures now. Those are some decent size some mahis there that you guys got. So I'm assuming the fam got to enjoy some tahi macos that night.
Yeah, the ones from yesterday, there was a couple nice ones. We actually had a real nice one get popped off by
Oh,
my number one. I knew he was trying to help my daughter and give her the pole, but thing was yoking out so hard about pulling him in the water.
that's awesome, man.
Which it might have been that 4 foot or 5 foot barracuda we saw too. So
Ooh, that's a big one.
pretty good
So
offshore.
you mentioned that you guys were trolling gear, everything got hit. Did you keep trolling once you got your first round of mahi in the boat, or did you start chunking instead?
Once we got that set of fish by the boat and we slowed everything down. We got the lines in that had come off because, like we said, we got covered up on every line just about, and every bait was eaten. Some of them were short bites, and some of them, got off because we didn't have enough anglers to grab all the lines we were trolling. We were trolling, I think, 9 lines.
Oh
No,
wow.
11. And we had 10 out. We had 10 out, and every one of them was banged. So we ended up getting a whole slew of the fish in the boat, and then they came to the boat. We kept them near the boat, and then we chunked them up and did some mahi bailing to get what we could out of the rest.
Man, that's awesome. So I want to switch gears from the offshore bite and mahi. You guys posted something. I thought this was really cool. I've never seen this happen on a charter boat. So you posted a day or two ago, just married. A couple chose to take their honeymoon and go charter fishing with you, man. Tell me about that.
Yeah, that was cool. They mentioned it. The guy he had mentioned it, and I was thinking, man, you must have a really cool wife, man. She's down with that. So, yeah. But they're in town for a few days, so there's other things they can do. And she did not seem at all that she was upset or anything. I think she had a great time. She had a great smile and great energy. So just reading the rooms, it felt like that she wanted to be there. Now I did come down from the tower and did notice that she was out in the beanbag for a little while as we were checking some cans for some fish. And we did end up seeing one out there too. And there was a fish on the can. It just wouldn't eat. It was chewing. He wanted to chew that jig pretty bad, but just wouldn't come tight for him on his honeymoon. But they had some fun. They had some fun trolling. Yeah, it was cool to see him out there on their honeymoon.
That's awesome,
Really
man. Yeah. Yeah,
cool.
get booked, get hooked, or let's do this. Get hitched, then get booked, and then get hooked. Uh,
They did it, man. They
that's
did
cool.
it.
That's
Great,
cool.
good group.
Yeah, and I've seen lately you've been on the Reds and the Cobias, some citations in the mix there. So you guys do a little bit of everything, man. That's all awesome to see. What are you guys thinking is going to happen once this storm rolls through? What's going to be your next targeted species after that?
Well, I'm really glad you asked me that because we've been pretty busy this summer and we haven't been able to put the once a month. We're going to start doing it, but what are we catching this month and what are we catching next month? Well, here's what's on the play and hooky. Actually, I put it right on the table because that's what we're going to eat. We're going to be targeting. We have a lot of offshore booked for the rest of the month. I think we have about 4 days available left, and we've gotten some wreck fish trips booked. So we've got some wreck fish trips booked. We have a lot of offshore, and we have some inshores for this weekend. And we still plan to do some cobia. Now we plan on doing some cobia more in the bay. We had a great time the other day catching some fish in the bay. The bay is full of cobia compared to the ocean front. It's a little tougher out
Mhm.
there now this year. But we plan on doing some cobia walk-ons, some look targeting some Spanish. We're thinking about doing the hooked on hook tournament,
Mhm.
but we're going to wait on the weather to see if it's going to be doable. And because when you're taking kids, you kind of want to at least not make it a miserable fishing trip and make them turn off for fishing. Even though the fishing to us would be great, who cares if it's raining
Yeah.
and sloppy? It's kids, and you're the point of the tournament. You'd think to get kids into fishing, and I'm
Yeah.
a little. I'd take them another time. And we have my mate's family coming with us to do it anyway, so it's like a bonus trip for them. So I'd rather make it something fun. If
Yeah.
not, we'll time off. But yeah, there's gonna be some inshore opportunities for sure. We're also gonna be doing some wreck fishing as a flounder. The flounder pick up, stay where they are, and then they slowly dwindle down. We're going to be also fishing for the sea bass hard, and the triggerfish will slowly turn on, and we'll be
Okay.
fishing. And the swordfish, we're going to be going dropping for some swords here coming up soon. We're
Ooh,
definitely into that. We might do some mahi sword combos and mahi blue line combos. We're going to be doing some just mahi trips or just mahi walk-ons. We've got a lot of people interested and ready for these trips that we're going to be offering coming up as the season closes out.
very cool, man. So talk me through specifically, so some flounder, some sea bass offshore. I know we've talked about sea bass a lot. Folks can go back and listen to some of those previous episodes and get some great tips and tricks on sea bass fishing. You've been very generous with some great insights there. Some thoughts on flounder when you're targeting them on some of those offshore wrecks. That can be a little bit tricky if you've not been out there and done that before.
Yeah.
For me, the novice, I want to go out there and maybe try to scratch up a flounder or two. What's going to be some of the things that I need to be thinking about?
All right. First thing you want to bring is 3 times as much tackle as you think you're going to bring. Second, you got to bring as few people as possible.
Ah,
There's a reason for that because it's the frustration level. I mean, you're teaching people and trying to show people, and then you're trying to catch fish. And it's just too many things to do. What you can show them, and you can fish. But the best way I show people how to, when I take my buddies fishing, I show them by just whooping them. Some of the things you try to tell them what you're doing, you let them watch you. I mean, I brought Jimmy Cobb, the maker of Jimmy Cobb's jigs, for all these years, and I was like, you know what? Not only Jimmy, I'd like to buy some flounder jigs, but Jimmy, well, I would love to take you fishing. Would you like to go? And I offered, took him out wreck fishing for a full day, and I sat next to Jimmy and watched Jimmy jiggle, jiggle, jiggle. Now, here's what Jimmy Cobb did. I don't, he would lift, and then fish would die, fish would die, fish would die. He'd jig back down. So he had the technique of creating a fish swimming off the bottom, putting it in a
uh-huh.
strike for a flounder looking up, and then the fish would go back down. Now, most times, by the time you went back down, the fish had come out of its hole. He saw it dying, dying, dying. And right when you get back for the next pull up again, there's your fish. So while you're letting out line, thumb on the spool, doing all these things, concentrating, you have to be totally ready for a strike that you got to be ready to pull real hard, crank real hard, keep all your tension, keep your rod up, and do not take any pressure off that fish and get him hooked. Because a lot of times
Ah,
they get unhooked. And while you're jigging, it's just pain in the butt because a piece of rubble feels like that. You can set your hook on a wreck. You know what I mean? You can think you're feeding a wreck and you can practice on a piece of seaweed. But the bottom line is you're going to be doing a lot of over and over and over and over and over till you get one or feel them. And the number one thing that makes flounder fishing fun is when there's flounders biting. Because when there's not, it's a pain in the butt. And
yeah.
you're getting lots of wind, lots of current. I don't know. It's like talking, man. There's a reward in it, but you got to be patient. That's the number one thing: is be ready to bring lots of tackle,
Yeah.
bring little few buddies as possible, and be
Be
ready.
patient.
Just grind it out. Yeah, I mean, you got a battle plan and be ready to everything that you thought that day was going to be good is going to not work, and go somewhere else and try somewhere else. It's all about. It's just it's one of those things that, there's places that are dialed in, there's places that have them there, and that's great. But you go back the next day and it's not going to happen. You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
something that you got to farm. You have to farm and leave them on there and come back and fish for them in the same spots or have multiple spots. With these new cards and chips, you should be able to find some good spots. And so as we drive out offshore, we always add, there's a new wreck. There's a new wreck. There's
Hmm.
something nobody's, rolling
Yep.
up on them. Having time to fish them is going to be tough, but that's where you're going to find your fish as time passes by.
Yeah. And do you have a preference between like maybe a little rubble of rock pile that you might find or a wreck or a certain depth? Like, does anything stand out to you as like more worth checking than others?
Yeah, the best tip I can give you is this. This is going to help a lot of people who actually fish. Try to find the ones that are low and rubbly and are forgiven. If you can find one that you can get long drifts on or longer drifts, now spot lock's different, man. You can put a spot lock on anywhere, know where
Uh,
the drift hangs are, and then you're still going to get hung up and break off in big structures and longer pieces. But you want to find the ones that you have the least amount of snags on, and that one's going to be your funnest ones to fish because you'll be able to do it. You'll be able to, you caught fish on it and you're not going to lose all your tackle. Then once you find places you've drifted over on these things without spot locks, for example, you're going to want to not drift those spots as much and lose all your tackle, but you're going to have to know where they are. And you have to learn the technique of backing your boat up on nice days and bouncing out. And the thing we tell our charters is, when you feel like you're hung up, you're going to feel like you hooked the Titanic. But what you got to remember after the second time, because they never do it the first time, they always jam it in there. But after the second one, you're like, look, the harder you hook it in there, you're setting it in there all the way. When you
yeah.
first wreck, if it's the wreck, just let some line out and you'll bounce right out. You can bounce
Hmm.
most times. But if you hook it, you just hooked it in there. Jimmy Cobb would say this. There's certain ones that are going to be in the wreck no matter what you do. He would call it, that's a keeper for the wreck. He's like, that's just a keeper. The wreck's going to get a couple.
Yeah.
That's the way it goes. And you put too many, you put 5 or 6 baited jigs in a wreck. You're gonna get fish stuck to the wreck.
Yeah. That's too funny, man.
Sharks, that's the way fishing works.
Yeah. Well, so you mentioned bringing a lot of tackle. What should I have in my bag? A couple of, big lead heads, varying ounces from what? Two to six, 1 to 4.
We go up to the 4s, and 2s. I mean, inlets you can get away with less, 10 feet, 15 feet of water, but I don't jig in the inlet. I like to use live bait.
Yeah.
Your cut bait's gonna be your technique. You get some fresh cut bait, live cut bait that you just pulled up that might not have been a keeper of a species, but it might be turning into bait before you know it sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Some cobia bellies.
Yeah, man. You just, you get that keeper cobia, bring him home and cut up that belly. And I've seen people use that. My favorite is using gray trout back in the old days. You get a 14-inch trout, cut his belly off and use him up, or even flounder. You get a keeper. I don't know how many times I've had a flounder and used one of our keeper flounders and took the belly out and caught probably 10 more flounders on one flounder.
So what is that? So you got a piece of cut bait that's maybe 4 to 6 inches long, and then you're dropping it down there on the bottom in the strike zone, and then you're wiggling it to make it look like it's got a tail, doing something, and you pop it up a little bit. They're visually seeing that, and they're thinking that's a little small fish that's bouncing off the bottom, and then that's what gets that attack bite.
That's exactly what it is, but it's always dead to the bottom, not that good. A little bit above, waving or on a long leader, or a little bit above, a couple feet, and that's where they're going to be. That's their strike zone. They're laying on the bottom with 2 eyes looking up, waiting for something to go by. And the fact that current's waving in there, and they're on a sinker, for example, and that thing just waving and waving and waving. It looks like a fishtail. It gives it that action. Now it all depends on how you hook your bait too. If you hook it in the middle, you're doomed. You hook that thing in the middle, you're gonna have a bent finger just swinging on both sides. It doesn't look like anything that's down there. But if you hook it about a 1/2 inch or a 1/4 inch from the top through the skin out to meat, and it's going to give it that action that you need. You don't want to have your whole rig covered in bait. You don't want everything like all 4 hooks, or it's just too much. You want to have some variety. That way you'll increase more. You'll beat your buddies.
Yeah. No, it's fun. I mean, it's almost like starting out with cobia. It's a challenge, and I think that's what makes it exciting to go after. Because if you watch social media with all the captains out there, recreational and professional, you don't see a huge load of flounder coming in every day. There's only a select few that are able to put together a nice bag. So it goes to show that it is challenging, and it takes an experienced technique to be able to put together a limit of flounder.
Yeah, they got this, and the spot lock helps, and the knowledge of the good wrecks, and the timing and the patterns of doing something over and over. Rec Dog's great at it. Why not? Good at it. Scott, when he gets out there, he's pretty good at Reckless. And they've all got their same techniques and things that I'm not going to share here. But that's just that's for another anglers club meeting for somebody to get all that secret knowledge out how to do it, or maybe even booking a trip. That's the best thing to do. Go book a trip with them and go fishing with them and see how they do it. I mean, I didn't learn how to offshore fish, in a fish tank. I went fishing with Tom Kraus on the hooker, out in Oregon. And I went to Hawaii and watched them use, not a single piece of dead meat on their troll. Everything was a lure, and rip it up. We caught a lot of, tons of things. And they fed families out there with not a drop of bait on there. So I learned a lot of techniques, and then I incorporated them, and you make it your own. A lot of mine are no baits either, but it's just fun. It's fun to learn. And sometimes you got to pay to learn. And there's some good guys out there to do it with. We like it. We don't specifically specialize in flounder per se. But we get booked for it, we'll do it, and there's other boats that do it. That's good for them, and it also is good to have a variety of boats that do other things.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, switching gears, I want to get your opinion on this because I know you love tournament fishing. White Marlin Open, we've got one white marlin at 77.5 pounds. We got a couple of jumbo jet blue marlin. What do you think's going to happen? What do you think's going to win it?
Well, I'm cheering for Flying Fish, my buddy and them. I hope good. Jake and stuff. I like them a lot. I hope they do real well.
Yeah.
Locals, I'm cheering for the locals. Anybody who's from right around our area, I would like to see win it. It's a great tournament. It's one of those things where it's almost on the old bucket list as well. I'd like to see the playing hooky boat ride up there one year, and wasn't. You never know. We might shake them up there next year and see how it goes, man. It could be a fun fishery, man.
That's cool, man. Yeah, I know it's a pretty pretty penny to get all in on that. I don't know the exact numbers, but it's well north of $50,000 to be all in. There's like a $8.5 million purse this year. One thing I love about I was watching yesterday and mentioned to Brady over there at Long Bay Point. One of those blue marlin measured 6 feet around in circumference, and they had
Oh,
the
man.
local food bank there, and they were processing that entire fish and getting it out into the community to feed people in need. And I think that's a super, super cool thing. Something we're actually going to do in the upcoming King-a-Ling tournament. We're going to have some local folks there from a local food pantry and make sure that every captain that has a fish that they'd be willing to donate, we're going to be able to clean those fish, pack them, and get them to people here in Hampton Roads in need. So I love when tournaments do stuff like that because I just think it's, fishermen that have boats and can pay $50,000 entry fees. We're obviously able to feed ourselves. So being able to give back, I think is really cool.
Awesome, man. That sounds really fun, man. We're gonna have to check that out. We're thinking
Awesome,
about
man. Yeah, man, would love to have you. And Captain Bill, for those listening that get fired up, hearing about some mahi, hearing about some blue line, hearing about some sea bass, some flounder, or just getting to hang out with you on the boat for the day. They want to get booked with you. What's going to be the best way for them to contact you and get on that boat?
it's gonna be by using our website at playing hooky charters vb at gmail.com, and it's PLAYINHOOKEY, and it's charters, and VB, Virginia Beach, but it's VB at gmail.com. And if not, you can find us on socials. You can also call 757-619-3530 and give me a call. I don't mind talking, getting you finding out what kind of trip you want to do, what time of year you want to go, and tell you how easy it is to get booked, and let you know that honestly, we don't want to keep your deposit. We want to go fishing. So
Yeah.
let's fish and get booked and get hooked.
Awesome, man. I appreciate that. Captain Bill, thank you for that report and that conversation. Y'all stick around for a word from our sponsor, and we will be right back soon. Hilton's Offshore Charts. The days of heading out and blindly looking for good fishing areas are pretty much over. Don't waste time and money on fuel searching for fish. You need the most recent, highest resolution images to not only know where to go, but where not to go. The knowledge provided by today's technology is critical when planning an offshore fishing trip. So make the choice that professional captains all over the East Coast make and choose Hilton's Real-Time Navigator. The easy-to-use interface and excellent customer service will have you on the fish every time you go. Check them out at hiltonsoffshore.com. That's hiltonsoffshore.com. All right, guys. Well, welcome to this report. We are going to talk to a new contributor. You've probably seen him around. You can't really miss his boat. Josh Bourne with Wingman Guide Service. Josh, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Hey, Luke. Good morning. I'm doing well. Enjoying a day off and happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to talk to you. I always see you in the creek going by. A couple of my friends work with you, mating from time to time, and you always seem to put some fish on the boat. So for those that are tuning in and, going to get to know you for the first time, tell us a little bit about your boat, yourself, and what you guys specialize in.
Yeah, so a little bit about me. I grew up the Eastern Shore of Maryland, Luke, and was in the Marine Corps. Got stationed at Fort Story here in Virginia Beach, and that's sort of what kept me here in Hampton Roads. I retired from the Marine Corps in 2015. I started chartering full time. I've been blessed to have a great following and a good community to build a business in and to raise my kids. I have one of the unique boats out there, Chesapeake Dead Rise, which is very common in the Bay, but not common for a charter boat down in this area, especially a tap, specializing in cobia and sight fishing and stuff. So,
yeah, I was surprised that we didn't see you up there in Cape Charles last weekend. Slamming that thing in between some piles and throwing some hoops around some posts.
Yeah, she's built for it, but she's not quite tuned to do that. Those boats are unique. They're highly specialized on, and then you got to really not care to stand it up. So yeah,
Right.
that's the way of the Bay, a very traditional thing that happens each year in a lot of places across the Bay. And those guys are extremely talented. A lot of them are just kids, and they're very good at docking those boats at high speed.
So your Chesapeake Dead Rise, how long is it, and what's the beam?
Well, I first had, people probably know me from the past 10 years of having the boat that was named the Second Wind. That was a wood boat that was built up in Deltaville, Virginia by the Green brothers in the early 70s. That boat was right at 37, 40 overall with the 12-foot beam. My new boat is also a dead rise. It's a glass boat that was built by the Chesapeake Boat Company in Crisfield, Maryland. She's 37 by 13.
Okay. Wow, man, that's a beam. That's going to be a super stable platform. I'm looking at a picture of it on your Facebook page, and you got that really cool crow's nest style tower, and you're up there, man. How high off the water are you when you're sight fishing?
I think my eyes are like 23 feet.
Goodness.
You can see them early, but a boat that big doesn't turn as well as a smaller boat. So there's pros and cons, but overall I wouldn't trade it. You know, I can see them early. Sometimes I don't see fish that are super close just because the angle at which you're really looking out farther than you should be sometimes. So you kind of have to just figure it out.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you were in the Marine Corps, and now you're a charter guide. How did your experience in the Marine Corps, contribute to how you are as a fisherman?
Ooh, probably this term called tactical patience. When you can't always do what you want when you want to do it. So you have to learn to be patient. You have to learn to let the situation develop. I would say that was something that translated well for me. And I think it's been effective on one, interacting with my clients, but two, in the sight fishing world, we're essentially hunting.
Mm.
So you got to be patient. You got to understand the environment, what's happening around you. And you've always got to be optimistic that it's going to happen. One of my mates, he uses the term moseying around. And I take a liking to it because, one, dead rises are, naturally lower boats, but very stable. So we can't cover, the same distance that a lot of these other guys can. And we can't always pick up and move long distances quickly when, we hear of a pop or a bite happening somewhere else. So we just stay there and we grind out, based on what we know. And more times than not, it works out.
That's awesome. So besides the sight fishing for cobia, are there any other species that you guys like to target?
Yeah, I mean, we spend our boat is very designed well for trolling. It's designed very comfortably for, families, children. We take disabled vets, wheelchair bound anglers a lot, older, customers, and, they like to troll. They like to, sort of essentially be interactive in the fishing, and the boat allows for that. So we do troll a lot. We have a harder time, in those tight areas, fishing the bridge and such like that. It's very doable, but it's not as, maneuverable as a lot of the other boats. So we do spend a lot of our time trolling. Obviously red drum in the spring, fishing for them on the bottom. We do that a lot. And then in the fall time, we move our boat to Maryland and we target the rockfish.
Oh, very cool. Very, very cool. So, in terms of the past couple of days, what have you guys really been, seeing and catching? And when you've been successful, what are some of the tips and tricks you've been using to be successful?
Well, I think recently, my opinion, the spawn has come to an end, and for the cobias, and they're finishing their cycle there and more focused on eating and getting together. We've been seeing pods of fish and a lot more pairs and fish together that aren't having any spawning activity, which shows that they're, getting ready for their end of year migration to the south. This time of year, you can encounter a lot of fish, but my opinion is that your number of encounters are less. So to my point earlier, that you may have to cover a lot of water to get those encounters. If I compare that to June, in June, you may see 50 fish in 45 different encounters. In August, this time of year, you may see 30 to 60 fish in 4 encounters because they're together. So that's what I would say the difference is now. You got to cover a little more ground until you start to see those fish. And when you do, they're usually all in the same area. It has something to do with the post-spawn and the beginning of the migration. Obviously, looking for bait, is a good thing. They don't spend their whole day in the bait. There's a certain time of day where they come up and get in the bait. The fish that we caught the last couple of days have all been full of menhaden. So they have been in the bait, whether you've been able to see them in the bait or not. They're hitting that bait. So that's a good place to target.
That makes a great point. And I'll say it's always a little bit shocking to turn on your bottom machine when you're seeing lots of bait balls and you're like, man, there's so much bait. Isn't it interesting to turn on your machine and see just how much more bait is below the surface? And a lot of times I get frustrated. I know others talk about their frustration when you're seeing tons and tons of bait for hours on end, but no fish. I mean, why do you think that is?
I think it has to do with a couple things. I think that the menhaden is actually rather hard for them to catch. So they spend, depending on how fast that bait ball is moving, they may have to be, really chasing it. And I don't think that they're that good at getting the bait. So it takes a while for that bait ball to get really tight together and slow. And the fish, that's when they come up on top. I mean, for those who have experienced it, you can see a bait ball from the distance and you kind of get excited as you approach it because it's one that you feel like the bait's really tight together. It's high on the surface. It's flickering. You're seeing it separating, which makes you think that there's something in it. Hopefully it's cobia. And then it comes together really quick. It's a defense mechanism for the bait. So I think that, that's part of that.
It's cool to hear how you talk about this stuff. It's almost like from like a tactical sense, with your military backgrounds, like they've taken a defensive position, launch the baits. So I'm curious, what's your ideology around, do you ever throw into a bait ball even when you don't see a fish, or is that a waste of time in your opinion?
No, I think, depending on the situation, it's a very good tactic. You can jig and bait, you can snag bunker and drop that bunker and hopefully get a bite that way. All those have been productive. Obviously, you're hoping to see the fish, sitting there on top of the bait. So that's the easiest way. But yeah, the blind casting and the dropping, your baits into the bait balls is very effective. Live bait, if the live bait is sometimes counterproductive because there's usually a lot of bluefish in there and small sharks. So that can be a way to not get a good cobia bite, but there's definitely fish in there that you don't see. To your point about what you're seeing on the bottom machine, I mean, when you're looking at a bait ball on the surface, that's just the tip of the iceberg about what it actually looks like. And if you have a good machine, that will, explain that to you about how big and how deep that bait ball actually is.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you mentioned the small sharks, and I've heard a lot of reports of a lot of sharks this year. What's been your experience? Does it seem like there's fewer, more, and if so, any inclination why?
I think that this year I have seen more sharks in the bait balls than in the past, at least few years that I can remember. I think it had to do with that extreme heat spell we had in July and the increased water temperature. I also chum a lot, in days where it doesn't, it's not conducive to sight fish. And when the water temperatures are warmer, high 70s into the mid 80s, we're always dealing with more sharks. So I just think that's relative when you're seeing them in the bait this time of year, after what we just had for that July heat spell.
Yeah, speaking of heat, it almost feels like the experience of being in a desert, on the verge of dehydration, and you start to see a mirage and you think it's, water. It's like when you've been 4 hours without seeing a cobia and you pull up on a bait ball and you're like, oh my God, there she is, and then you get closer and it's a shark.
Yep, no, that happens, and the excitement translates from us up top down to our people below, because as soon as that diesel engine slows down or they hear the boat going neutral, and then you just tell them it was a shark and move on.
Yeah. So you mentioned that, you're raising a family here in Virginia Beach. You've got some probably young kids. What are your kids' ages? And the reason I ask is I want to know those listening, that have young kids that are thinking about maybe putting them on a charter. What's the right age or the ideal age to get them started with sight fishing and cobia fishing? Is there a age that's too young? What's your opinion on that?
Well, first off, I got 3 daughters. Ava is 17. She's going to be a senior this year, and she's been mating for me since she was about 12 years old. Her and I work together about 2 to 3 days a week. It's best for our relationship to not go past 3 days a week.
That's funny.
My daughter Kate is 14. She'll be a freshman. She's up and coming. She is really taking a liking to it. When she was younger, she just wasn't as interested, and I didn't want to, push her into something that she'd end up not liking. And then my stepdaughter Cameron is 14, and she is all about it when it's her time to go. And then if she doesn't want to go, she doesn't go. And then Sarah, my fiance, she usually mates for me a couple times a month, full time in the insurance world. So it's hard for her to get away, but she's just as good as any of them. The age that's appropriate, I think that's probably each individual kid is different based on their attention span, their size, what they like to do. I would say that as you're getting a child into the fishing, do things that are successful for them. Now, separate 2 things here. You shouldn't be so focused on making sure your kid catches a fish every time or catches a limit or sets a new personal record, because that's not reality, and that's not going to happen every time you go fishing. But you do need to tailor it so that there's an appropriate amount of time that's out there so that their attention is, best captured, and that they don't start to have a distaste for the fact that, it's a 11-hour trip and my 7-year-old couldn't keep up, So those type of things are what you need to focus on, and nobody knows their kids more than the parents. And we do take we probably have an under 18 angler on our boat at least 3 to 4 days a week.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, our boat's built for it. The cabin, they can get out of the weather. They can move around. I just had a father 2 days ago say, his rule when we fish with Captain Josh, your cell phones stay home. So those
That's
type of
awesome.
things are getting a little break from, the pressures of the world and the social media, and they can get out and experience nature and, enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But anybody who's getting outside and enjoying it is doing the right thing. So right age, that's dependent on the kid, I think, and the parent and what they know. And then obviously you don't want to put a young child in a situation where they could get hurt or have a situation where it puts them in a place where they don't want to do it again. So you got to be sensitive to that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I see a lot of photos of this young man on your boat that's got this big goofy smile and this kind of mullet curly hair. He seems to be with you a lot, but he looks really young, maybe 9 or 10 years old. What's that young man's name?
I'd have to look back at who you're talking. 10 years old? I thought you were talking about my mate for a second.
Yeah, that's who it is, your mate.
Oh, yeah, Ryan.
He's going to smack me for that. I'm just kidding.
Ryan's exceptional fisherman and heart of gold. And as I've selected my mates over the years, it's been very important to me that they can interact with a multitude of clients, whether it's young children, older people, people with, language barriers or disabilities. So Ryan is very good at that. My daughter Ava's good at that. Sarah's good at that. My brother, Captain Micah, Captain Tommy. It's hard because you come up with all these, at the time they're kids and they want to be mates, and then you start to lose them because they're so good at what they do. They turn into the young captains, and then they're really good at being captains, and then they're not mates anymore.
Right.
So,
yep.
Yeah, that's a good process.
Well, very cool, man. Well, I know you guys are also going to be participating in some of the upcoming tournaments. Are you guys involved with Hooked on Hope and the Spanish Mackerel tournament coming up?
Oh, yeah. I've been working with Mike Roby and his family and that organization since the beginning. It's actually one of the things I look forward to the most, and I'm really excited that this tropical storm has made a little switch, and it looks like we'll be able to get the tournament on Saturday. I have a family that I've taken before.
Mm-hmm.
Mother, Nick, 2 sons, and her youngest son is in remission right now from cancer, and looks like he's gonna, make a full recovery. And he loves to fish, and we're super excited about what the tournament holds on Saturday. My daughter Kate will be coming along with us, and Ryan will be my mate, and we're gonna fish as hard as we can and see what happens.
Awesome, man. Well, I know that's going to be a great event. In our next conversation, we're going to be talking with Mike Roby and learning a lot more about that organization and what they do. So I'm excited to hear that you're a part of that, man. And I really enjoyed listening to you share. And, I think for those that are listening and are considering a charter for the first time and wondering if it's, age appropriate or family appropriate, I don't think you can go wrong, talking to Captain Josh and being on that big old comfy boat, moseying around the bay, and I'm sure he'll put you on some fish one way or the other. So, Captain Josh, thank you again for contributing this week, being part of the show, man.
No, I appreciate it, Luke, and I look forward to hearing about more of your conversation with Mike and Hooked on Hope. Those guys are doing a really good thing for a lot of families. Unfortunately, we this year we're going to be sort of taking some time to remember some of the kids that we've lost since the beginning of the tournament, 4 or 5 years ago. So that's sort of a dark part of it, but is, what he provides these families and the light part of it. So we're going to do our best to make this thing go on forever.
Amen to that. And for those of that are listening in and do want to get with you and book a trip, what's going to be the best way for them to contact you and get booked with Wingman Guide Service?
You could, I have a pretty big following on Instagram at Wingman Guide Service LLC on Instagram, or my phone number is 910-467-6410. I try to be rather responsive there. You can shoot me a text or leave me a message, and we'd love to have you guys. I'm already booking into 2025 and also booking for my rockfish trips up in Maryland starting in late October. So we'd love to have anybody, and appreciate the shout out.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Well, folks, we'll drop those in the show notes for you. And y'all look up Captain Josh on Instagram, Wingman Guide Service, and check out his adventures each and every day, and maybe chase him up the bay in the fall for some striped bass. So, folks, that's going to wrap up that report. Y'all stick around. Let's hear from this week's sponsor, and we'll be right back with you. Killer Dock. Most fishermen clean their fish on something like a unsightly old wooden table or the top of a cooler, somewhere that is not comfortable, not sanitary, and not attractive. Killer Dock makes the greatest fish cleaning station known to mankind. They are built from marine-grade aluminum and are corrosion-resistant clear-coated to protect it from the harsh salt environment. Killer Dock makes tables and canopies at several different sizes. So whatever you need on your dock, deck, or patio, they have a fish cleaning station for you. Check out killerdock.com to see more. All right, guys. Well, for this in-short report this week, we're going to talk to a good friend of the local community. He is responsible for Hooked on Hope, Captain Mike Roby. Welcome to the show, Mike. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having us today, man. I'm excited to share what we do.
I'm excited to talk about it. I've seen it for several years. I know the community loves it. I know the local captains are always excited to be a part of it. But I'm excited to learn about it and share this with our audience. So, before we dive into that, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you were just doing some fishing. You're at Chick's Oyster Bar right now, hanging out. Just got off the water. What kind of fishing do you like to do? What kind of boat you run?
Look, I run a 17-foot coastal skiff, and I try my best to catch fish. Today was my first time going out to the first island, and, I caught 8 bluefish, so that was a good day for me. But a little bit more about me, man. My family, we're a cancer survivor family. Our daughter Lauren was diagnosed with cancer in 2015, and fishing was always our escape to kind of, divide and conquer, I would say, because when my wife was at the hospital with my daughter, I have 2 other kids that we were always out there fishing. And that's kind of how Hooked on Hope started, man. We just said, hey, we love fishing. We could do this for other families, and it gives them an opportunity to get out there and catch those memories and have a good time. Man,
that's awesome. And obviously there's one specific species that we go after, right?
Just a fish, right?
Any
one
fish.
Species, a fish.
Yeah.
Because I always say it's more than fishing for these families. They get out there. We never know who needs the day the most. It could be the captain, could be the mate, could be the mom, could be the dad. We just get out there and, hopefully catch a fish. We had a pretty good track record. I think we've done like 203 charters since 2019. And I think only one time did one charter not catch a fish, and we sent them out the very next week to catch some fish.
Wow, that's incredible. So you're not just targeting Spanish mackerel, you're targeting any fish they can catch.
Yeah, so what we try to do is like, hey, I tell all my captains who are awesome, I said, look, put some fish in a box first, whether it's Spanish mackerels, blues, and then if the family is okay to go out and do some cobia fishing, some red drum fishing, we send them out there to do that, man. We've had a lot of these kids catch citations and catch fish that are bigger than them. So that's
Wow.
always pretty crazy. I feel like we're like ruining these young kids for like the fishing experience because they're
Right.
they're not going to want to go catch a bluegill anymore. They're like,
No.
"Where's that big fish?"
Yeah.
So,
That reminds me of the other day. We took my buddy Brandon Lewis and his daughter Piper out. She's 9. And we got into 12 cobias inside of 2 hours, the biggest 60 inches. And she was like, "This is great, Dad. We should do this all the time." And I'm like, "Brandon, can you please sit your daughter down and explain to her that this is a statistical anomaly and this is not how it normally goes?" Because the bar is set so high. But back to Hooked on Hope. You shared a little bit about your own family story, but talk me through when you got the inspiration to really start this foundation and start this event every year. What was that spark, and then how did it become reality?
yeah, so really, like I said, our family has always had a love for fishing, and I probably spent 2016 to 2017 thinking about we could take these families out on fishing trips, get them hooked up on some fish. And honestly, man, we started our first year in 2018 behind a fellow cancer family's like dock in Kings Grant. We did 5 families the first year, catching bluegill and bass, and then we got hooked up with our church, Grace Bible Church, which is awesome. They connected us with Jay Leach from First Landing Charters. We did our first Red Drum Rodeo tournament in 2000, I think 19.
Mm-hmm.
We had 4 families, and just got to say, one of the hardest parts about what I do and what we do as an organization is getting close to these families and losing kids to cancer.
Yeah.
And three of our first 4 families that ever chartered with us have gained their angel wings.
Wow.
So we didn't even know about charter fishing. So that Red Drum Rodeo tournament we do every year. We sponsor families, we get them out there. But we just wanted to like give back to our cancer community, give them something to look forward to other than a clinic stay or a hospital visit. And just, it's not always about catching fish.
Yeah.
Sometimes they go out and see dolphins, they see turtles. And like I said, we have a pretty good track record thanks to our awesome captains in our community right here. But we just wanted to do something else because so many people gave us the opportunity to take a vacation, go to Ocean City, Maryland, go to Florida, go to North Carolina.
Yeah.
There was a lot of people that gave us the opportunity to do something fun.
Yeah.
And I just took our passion for fishing and said, look, we can do this. And I was scared, man. I'm not gonna tell you, I was scared. I was like, who's gonna want to fish with us? And now it's like, who doesn't want to fish? So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, connecting those two things together and sharing, it's like the Make-A-Wish Foundation, getting these kids out there to experience something they never experienced before, would never get to experience. And you mentioned Grace Bible Church. I know Pastor Eric Sanzone, great guy, great community there for the 757. That's an awesome community, and knowing that you got a heart, man of faith that's also going to be helping to share hope and faith with these families in some of these darkest and hardest times. This Thursday, I'll be playing golf in the Edmark Golf Tournament, which provides in-home hospice care for kids with cancer. Until you're close to it, you just have no idea the struggle or the pain that families go through with that. I've got a very close coworker who just lost his mom this past week after a battle with cancer. And when you're close to it, you understand just how heavy and hard of a time it is. And then to just go get away from it all for a moment and be out in God's creation on the water with some great people, having community and catching fish and seeing laughs and smiles, like that's what it's all about. So for captains that get involved, how does a captain get involved with Hooked on Hope?
Yeah, so a lot of the captains, we started in 2019 doing our charters. A lot of it's been like word of mouth because these guys are really like connected. It's a small community, and these guys talk to each other, and they see like another boat like taking one of our families. They're like, hey, how can I do that?
Yeah.
So I don't really have to do much work when it comes to like connecting captains. They see their fellow like captains doing something awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And you're connected with a lot of these captains, and their heart is pure.
Yeah.
They really want to help out, whether it's with Hooked on Hope or Freedom Hunters or Make-A-Wish or anything else.
Yeah.
These guys are always willing to be like, hey, how can I help?
Yeah.
So that's always like super cool. And look, I love those guys, man. I think we're building more than, just fishing for our families. I feel like we're truly building a community of like friends and like,
Yeah.
hey, who can help? And, we're connecting people, and it's amazing, man. We
Yeah.
love it.
Absolutely. So if a captain wants to get involved, it's not currently involved, what would they need to do? Are they going to be volunteering and donating a charter? Is that how it works?
Yeah, so you mentioned that word donating. It's always not donating. I tell every single captain that works for us that I don't want you to lose money. I want you to help. I want to make sure your fuel's covered, your bait cost is covered, your mate's covered. And they're always like willing to like work out a good, reasonable price. And they're not like saying, oh, it's going to be, $800 or whatever.
Yeah.
So all of our captains are really good about saying, hey, we're doing something good. Here's my price that I need to cover. Please take care of my mate. And
That's
I will
cool.
say that's one thing our captains think about is, hey, take care of our mate.
Yeah.
Because that's important. I don't want anybody to lose money helping out Hooked on Hope.
Yeah.
'Cause
Absolutely.
we have some amazing sponsors that make this all possible, and I feel like we're doing a good thing. We're not asking for free. I never ask for anything free.
No, and it's I'll never forget being at a business conference, and Robert Hershevik from Shark Tank was talking, and somebody asked a question about, business and getting people to push hard for you. And he said, whenever you're doing something that you want people to get behind, you have to have an honorable why. And in this case, the why is incredibly honorable. So for folks that maybe aren't a boat captain or maybe can't get involved fishing, but want to help out from a sponsorship perspective and donate money to help pay for those expenses, how could they get involved with that?
Yeah, so the best way is like to just call me directly. My phone number is 757-472-7212, and it's Mike Roby. And then we have a website, hookedonhopevb.com, and you can follow us on social media, Hooked on Hope VB for Facebook, Hooked on Hope VB for Instagram. And I tell people all the time, I'm really a professional beggar. I ask people for money all the time, but what I've been getting to the last couple of years is just saying, hey, please check us out on social media.
Yeah.
You'll see exactly what we're doing. It's like the proof is right there. We're sending these families out. They're catching memories. They're having a good time. And it's amazing, man. I really,
Oh yeah.
I'm humbled by it sometimes, Cause
Well, yeah. I mean, one of the greatest stories in the Bible is about fishing. Throw your net over here and boom, all of a sudden it's full. Or, hey, I don't have any money. Go look in this fish's mouth and boom, we got a coin to pay. So I think that God knew when he was putting fish in the sea that we were going to want to play with them at some point. So I think it's cool that you've connected the two. So how many events every year do you guys do?
So we do about 50 inshore charters a year. So that's like 50 families that we do every year. We do a couple other, side events. We've been doing some pier events. We haven't done those this year, but I'm still like open to like taking kids like to a local pond that I have. So we don't advertise as much, but most of what we do is like inshore fishing charters, like 4-hour trips. We'll give them a nice cooler full of waters. Our sponsors like decorate them with like stencils, and some people are like really creative and like decorate them like really super awesome. So we give them a cooler full of waters, bag full of snacks, T-shirts, hats, stickers, hand sanitizer, sunblock. And then one of my favorite things is always give them a gift card to a local restaurant, whether it's like Dockside, Rudy's Inlet, Big Sam's, Chicks. Just try to encourage the families to go enjoy themselves after fishing.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I love that so much. I hope folks that are listening, will take a moment. Just go look it up. It'll be right here in the show notes. Hooked on Hope. You can find them on Instagram, Facebook. You can check out their website. You can call Mike directly. What was that? 472-7212?
Yes, sir.
So get in touch with Mike. Get in touch with Hooked on Hope. Even if you can't get involved as a captain, you can donate money. You could probably find a way to donate your time or maybe some arts and crafts like you were talking about to bless those kids. And like I said, if you haven't ever been close to somebody or a family that's struggling with fighting cancer, you won't experience until you get close to it. So this would be a way to get close to it and to bless those in need, because it is a really challenging time and you need some sort of a reprieve from that dark time. And that getting out there on the water, it gives you that sense of hope. And a lot of times, they say that like laughter is a good medicine. A sense of hope can be a good medicine where you start to turn that corner in that battle with cancer, because you get excited and you feel a sense of hope again. And then boom, all of a sudden your biology starts to work better and things start to heal and you start to move in the right direction. So I love it, man. I'm so glad that we got to have this conversation. Before we wrap up, tell me a cool fishing story. Tell me about a citation that one of these kids caught. So I want to hear something.
Yeah, so I'll give you a recent one. We had a cool experience where WTKR News 3 reached out to us and they wanted to do the Hometown Heroes. I have some really amazing volunteers that help me out all the time. They meet families at the dock in the morning, give them their coolers, their bags, get the waivers signed. And then these guys always go back and like take pictures at the dock. So recently we had a family that had a kid that had a brain tumor. He's doing awesome right now. You know, they met up and they caught like a 46-inch like red drum. Like seriously, man, we're catching these captains, not me. These captains are catching like fish bigger than these families. So we've had several citations for these kids over the years, and like I told you, I think what we're doing is like we're ruining their experience of like their expectations.
Right.
So,
Right.
so it's really tough. But look, man, it's more. I say it all the time. It's more than fishing. It's really about the, being together, not being in a hospital, not being in a clinic, spending time. And I truly believe that it's more than just fishing. And you never know who needs that day the most.
Yeah, absolutely. Or who you'll meet along the way. So, all right, I almost failed to ask about the Spanish mackerel tournament that's happening this Saturday. So what's the deal with the Spanish Mac tournament? What's the format going to be?
Yeah, yes, sir. So we're definitely watching that weather. You're watching that weather too, but it looks like Saturday's gonna be good. We host a Spanish mackerel tournament every year. This is their 5th year doing it. It's open to the public. My main rule is, other than catching legal fish, is we have to have a kid under 18 on the boat to participate in the tournament. It's a $250 entry fee. All the rules are on bbmackerel.com. We have a nice awards party at Ballyhoo's. We give out cash prizes. We got a nice master of ceremonies, Captain Reese, who does the Virginia Beach Tuna Tournament. He's going to make you look silly doing Simon Says. But we've been fortunate to do this for 5 years. First 3 years, weather was terrible, but everybody fished. We're going to keep this tournament going. It's still on. I think we're going to be good. I have 15 of our pediatric cancer families fishing in the tournament this year, thanks to some awesome captains in our community that love like helping out Hooked on Hope. But it's meant to just get families together and just give them some time with no pressure, and they still have a chance to like win some money, win I think the coolest trophies in our area. So if you haven't looked them up, Luke, please look up those trophies. I got a friend, Chris White on Burn Art, that does some amazing trophies. And we're just gonna have fun. We make it about kids. It's gonna be fun. We got face painters, bounce houses,
Oh my.
tattoos. It's gonna be fun, man. We got a DJ. It's gonna be awesome time.
That's cool. So remind folks of two things. So the fishing format is going to be for total length, total weight, combined weight. What's that going to be?
Yes. So for Spanish mackerel, it's your 3 biggest string.
Okay.
So your 3 biggest fish, have them, ready to go. Have them at the weigh station. They got to be at Ballyhoo's by 2:00 on August 10th. And then we do some Calcuttas for the families. It's $100, or not for the families, for the captains. $100 for the biggest mackerel, and $100 for the biggest 3-fish string. And I got to give my buddy Tom Ritter and Trey Ritter on Marver Outdoors. Last year, they won first place, and their families keep the prize money. That's my deal. Families, if they win, they keep prize money. But he won the Calcutta, and it was $9,000 for a Spanish mackerel tournament.
Wow.
And he gave, I don't remember the exact number, but he gave us $500, gave the family the rest of the money, and then also gave his mates some money that day.
Man.
So it's just cool, man. It's just good people out here doing like awesome things. And don't worry about the weather, because we're still going to have a good party. Get your ponchos on and come out and catch the mackerel, because the mackerel is still out there.
That's the fun. You can catch the mackerel in the rain as long as it's not stormy. I think it's going to be like some lighter southwest wind. So, put a poncho on, go fish and have fun, and win some money. And I love that, Marva and Trey and Tom are awesome guys. They've been doing it a long time. So it just doesn't surprise me when you said that they were willing to donate that back to the family and to their mates, because that's just the kind of guys that they are.
They're good people. And I had a message from your buddy Bill Pappas yesterday. He's like, "Look, we're in." I was like, "Look, get in." And he caught some mackerel yesterday. I'm like, "Glad to see they're still there." I said, "Don't keep them in the freezer. That's cheating."
I don't think you got to worry about that with old Bill. He's about as honest as the day is long. So that's a good deal right there, man.
It's awesome, man. Like I said, this is our biggest fundraiser of the year, and we're just trying to connect the community together and just promote like fishing as a family. And it's a no pressure tournament. We're gonna have fun. It's going to be good. And I'm not worried about this weather. We're going to have a good time.
Absolutely. So for folks that want to check out that tournament, where are they going to find those details?
Yeah, so then go to www.vbmackerel.com and they'll see all the rules and everything. Like I said, it's $250 to get in. We have a big party with food, and really, honestly, man, you can't take a family of 5 out for less than $200 anyway. So you might have a chance to win some food or win some money.
Yep, absolutely. Well, folks, that's going to wrap up a really cool inshore segment talking about all things Hooked on Hope and the VB Mackerel Tournament. So y'all stick around. We're going to take a quick break and come back and talk about what did we learn this week. GreatDaysOutdoors.com. Great Days Outdoors has been the premier destination for hunters and anglers looking for a comprehensive look into the outdoor lifestyle since 1997. Our stories are crafted by dedicated journalists who live, eat, and breathe all things hunting, fishing, conservation, and land ownership. Check them out at greatdaysoutdoors.com. All right, guys. Well, welcome to this What Did You Learn segment. Man, first of all, I always love talking to Captain Bill Pappas from Playing Hooky. Guy's just a ball of fun, love, and energy. I love his passion for what he does, his passion for his family, and then, of course, his passion in the kitchen. So, after we talked later in the evening, he actually put up on his story this sandwich contest, a fried flounder sandwich versus a fried mahi sandwich. And according to him, I think he preferred, in this case, the flounder. So hopefully you get out there and catch some of your own and be able to have your own little fish fillet sandwich off, if you will, and decide which one you like the best. I'm pretty sure I botched the way to say that, but you get the gist of it. And then, talking to Captain Josh, it was really cool to hear about his story being a Marine and then now operating wingman guide service. And go take a look at his boat online. It's just an absolute dream boat for the Chesapeake Bay. The thing is huge. It's got all kinds of space. So if you've got family, kids, or maybe even somebody, in a wheelchair or a little bit handicapped physically, I think they're going to be able to expect a nice, comfortable, safe ride out there on his boat and be able to get put on a couple of fish. And then finally talking to Captain Mike Roby and what they're doing with Hooked on Hope and the Spanish Mackerel Tournament this Saturday. Guys, we're so fortunate to have guys like him in our community that are going to be out there, sharing their heart and passion for helping people and putting together the effort and the sponsors to be able to pay for these local charter guides to get out there and take folks that are dealing with this tough time in life, dealing with a family member with cancer. It's an impossible situation. So be able to provide them a little bit of reprieve and a glimpse of hope to get out there and enjoy fishing and making a memory together. I just think that's awesome. My hat's off to you, Mike. So folks, please check that out in the show notes. Go see what he's all about. Go see what Hooked on Hope is doing. Come hang out at the scales this Saturday for the Spanish Mackerel Tournament. It's going to be an absolute great time, and we're going to be helping a lot of people with that. And then finally, for those that love to fish in a cobia tournament, we are doing another King-a-Ling tournament on Sunday, the 18th, weather permitting. If you go to Long Bay Point and Tackle's Facebook page or check the show notes here, you'll find the link to that event. It's going to be a 2-category event. There's going to be a main event that is based on a 2-fish stringer, and then there's going to be a Calcutta or 1-fish category that's based on your single heaviest fish, and we'll have levels 1 and 2. It's 100% payout. There is absolutely no rake. And we've got a really cool verification method that's going to keep everything fair and equal. We'll go over all that when we do the captain's meeting on Thursday, August the 17th. So it's going to be $1,000 if you wanted to be all in, $400 for the 2-fish main event, or $200 and $400 for the levels 1 and 2 Calcuttas for the 1-fish event. So love to see you guys out there. Hopefully have some fun. You're able to bring a fish by vehicle, which we'll go over in the rules. So it should be a good time. Excited to share some fun on the water together. And we're going to pay out 1st through 6th place in the main event, and then 1st through 4th place in each level of the Calcutta. So check it out. King-a-Ling Pop-Up Cobia Tournament, Sunday the 18th, hosted out of Long Bay Point Bait and Tackle and the Lower Chesapeake Bay Fishing Report. Guys, I want to wish y'all a great week. Hopefully this hurricane rolls on through. Meanwhile, you can enjoy watching the White Marlin Open tournament results, seeing some huge fish coming in. So lots going on in the fishing world right now. Hope you're getting ready for a great weekend ahead and that the weather permits us to get out there Saturday and Sunday and go fish, have some fun, and make some memories. Till next time, y'all keep on whacking them. We're going to sign off for this week. So that's going to wrap it up this week. Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. And remember, To get your free AFTCO Camo Sunglasses Cleaning Cloth, just text the acronym LCBFR to 779-345-2918 to get your promo code and be added to our email list so we can send you the new show each week. You guys keep whacking them and be safe out there.